How do I explain Dolly Parton in just 3 clips?
Jolene, 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 Jolene.
You don't have to look like this. You're very beautiful. You don't have to wear the blonde wigs. You don't have to wear the extreme clothes, right?
No, it's certainly a choice. I don't like to be like everybody else. I've often made this statement that I would never stoop so low as to be fashionable. That's the easiest thing in the world to do.
Can you imagine having your nails credited on a song that is like one of the biggest hits of the 20th century? Also, did you actually know that Dolly had never taken an acting class before being in 9 to 5? You voted for this makeup on my Instagram. I did do a little bit extra with some butterflies because I got some gel liners and also because butterflies are Dolly's absolute favorite thing, and I was kind of actually inspired by her butterfly tattoos that we will never see though, because she suffers from, what is it, that keloid thing. So when she actually gets a scar from like whatever surgery or whatever, she actually gets like a dark purple scar, so she covers it with pastel butterfly tattoos, which I think is lovely, so I popped a couple on my face. Also, her favorite color is white and her favorite time of year is Christmas, so that's why this is so fitting to be filming this right now, even though you all did actually really want me to like talk about her. This is not like a full biography of her. We're actually talking about like a few select moments in her life that I really want to focus on, including her impact as well, because I think that that can often get overlooked. Oh, and also I won't really have much of her songs in this because as much as I want to support Dolly, I've watched a lot of content about her which is produced by her as well, so I actually kind of need the money from the ads for therapy, so if you could actually just watch the ads, that would help me out a lot. Never before have I ever come across someone that is universally agreed upon to be protected at all costs as well. Like if you're on the right, if you're on the left, whatever, it doesn't matter. Everybody loves Dolly. I've never found such a unifying force before when it comes to a person. I personally think that she's been really instrumental in a political way as well, which often gets overlooked because she's just not like out and open about this stuff, but she's a smart cookie and she weaves things all throughout her life to kind of push the angle that she wants to push as well. She is the classic rags to riches story, our southern Cinderella, if you will. She's had people tell her that she'll never be as pretty as Cher or as accomplished as other people or as famous as other people, but she's never really wanted to compete in that way. She's always just here to be the best version of herself that she can be. So we're going to be talking all about that, her achievements in life, all this other good stuff, and a lot of things that I don't think a lot of people think about or talk about when it comes to Dolly Parton. Of course, as usual, we're going to create this look. You can copy me if you want. Everything that I've used is listed down below. It's all cruelty-free, vegan, and not owned by parent companies that test on animals. Without any further ado, let's get right on into it. A little reminder of our inspiration picture. I actually have spent 45 minutes on my hair. It's not getting better than this. So obviously we are getting started up with her childhood. So Dolly was born in the Smoky Mountains and she was sharing the bed with like up to 5 other kids, so that kept her warm during winter, especially when they peed the bed. Hey, these are her words. Like I said before, her family was dirt poor. Like sometimes her father would make moonshine in order to be able to like make a little bit more money, but they actually just had a big old farm and all of the kids were helping out on the farm. So Dolly was actually the 4th child out of all of the 12, and she said that as time went on, things got easier for them. Like her father worked the farm and her mother, she like ran everything else, and we're like looking after 12 children, I cannot even imagine. So her mother would sew the clothes and just put things together, basically mend a whole bunch of stuff, including of course the inspiration for the very famous song Coat of Many Colors, which is actually Dolly's favorite song out of all of the songs that she's written. Of course, like they didn't keep the actual original coat as well, because why would you? No one would have thought Dolly would be as famous as what she is now. So her parents actually got together when her mother was 15 and her father was 17, but she never actually got a ring. So one Christmas when there were around about 12 kids at the time, they actually foregoed like presents for the kids so then her father could actually buy a ring for her mum. It's something that Dolly speaks of really fondly as well, which is really sweet. When she was 7, she had her own little makeshift guitar, and then what she would do is like she'd put like a tin can on top of a broom, I believe it was, and have that as her microphone. But when she was 8, her father actually bought her first actual like guitar. So she actually started at the age of 10 at a local radio show. But obviously, like, you know that she'd been singing in the church way before that. Like, she grew up in an incredibly musical family. Like, she was kind of raised in the Church of God because her grandfather was actually a pastor, and she's still very religious to this day. Her first actual song was about a little rag doll that she had, which she wrote when she was like 5 years old, except for the fact that Obviously she never wrote it down, but I was watching an interview, I think it was with Oprah, and she just remembered the whole thing. Like, the woman is sharp as a whip, I tell you. And of course, I think that she played the stereotype game to her advantage for her whole entire life. You wouldn't think that this teeny little blonde girl would ever actually be as business savvy as what she is, and I think that she has played that so incredibly well to her advantage. So in her teenage years, she carried on singing, and then of course, like, she had that hit Puppy Love come out, and then she also met Johnny Cash at the Grand Ole Opry when she was 13 years old. Now, Wikipedia actually got this wrong, and I watched an interview of Dolly actually correcting it. So he never actually told her to like keep at it and like tell her that she had to keep on singing and stuff like what it says on Wikipedia. No, like, she was inspired by seeing him, and she felt encouraged by seeing him to keep going. She had an absolutely giant crush on Johnny Cash at the time as well. So Dolly was very different, as I think a lot of us have kind of picked up on. Her uncle was the one that was taking her places to sing, and of course, like, we all know the origin story of like the fact that she decided to dress the way that she does because of seeing that beautiful woman wearing like those cute little outfits, those little short skirts, having the beautiful skin, lovely hair and makeup, and her mother was like, well, she's just trash. And Dolly's like, well, I'm gonna grow up and be trash then. I did talk about this in my Anna Nicole Smith video a little bit more around the classism issue and all of that, because that's definitely impacted Dolly's life, but she's smarter than so many of these people that have been trying to interview her and take her down. Now, Dolly wasn't actually the brightest person in school, but she was still very popular because, I mean, like, she was very pretty and she knew how to wear makeup well, and she was quite well developed, you could say. When she was actually graduating from high school, she said in front of everyone that she was actually going to go to Nashville and be a big star, and she got absolutely laughed at. She still moved the next day, but she felt so ashamed. She was so embarrassed by that. But look who's laughing now, and with possibly one of the cutest laughs ever. And Dolly actually does own her own childhood home that she grew up in. She bought that in the late 80s. Now, you also probably want me to mention the song Dumb Blonde. She didn't actually write that song, but it's a very perfect song for Dolly because I think that it kind of encapsulates so much around her. So it was actually composed by Carly Putman, but like, Dolly's always had a really good ear for like what will actually be a hit, so that's why she's quite happy to like have sung songs that aren't even hers. This was actually her first country hit, but the thing is that they didn't really want her to sing country songs because like the soprano of her voice, it was one of those sounds where they're like, now you are so suited for pop music, and she's like, I can do anything. And she definitely has. Chapter 2, the Porter Wagoner Show. So when she moved to Nashville, she was not an instant success, which is okay, those things do happen, because she'd been putting her songs out there to like everyone and trying to like play on the radio as much as possible and just get out there, sign with different labels and stuff, just trying to make her way. Porter Wagoner was actually the one who invited her to be on the show. Norma Jean was his co-host, but the thing is that she was getting married, and she was 21 and getting married, and so she decided, hey, you know what, I want to leave. He called her in, and she honestly thought that it was only going to be around like using her song or something, because she knows that Norma Jean had actually liked her work, and it's like, actually, we want you to work for us. Now, the Porter Wagoner Show was actually the highest rated syndicated show at the time as well, so this was really prestigious, and everyone was actually watching the show every single week. I think I've just found my new favourite eyeliner on Porter Wagoner. In my opinion, he knew that when he stumbled upon Dolly, he found something that was far too good to let go of. Before she started, she said, I only want to be here for 5 years, this is not my permanent place. So Dolly actually started there when she's just 21, so it's a very, very young start to her career. And again, in my opinion, she actually got more popular than Porter himself. Just Because I'm a Woman is the first song that she actually released under the label, and the thing is, it's an incredibly feminist song. Like, Dolly would listen to everyone else's works, and she's always hearing about the fact that you've got all of these men that are like, oh, all these hussies and all of this bad stuff, and it's like, well, actually, what about the view of the woman's perspective? Like I said, even though she's not been openly political, she's been very political with the works that she's actually done. When you think about the time that this came out, I think it was around about like 1968, and the thing is that this is when everyone was burning their bras, this is when the massive feminist movement, I think it's second wave feminism, was happening at this point in time. Though she never did actually say that she was a feminist outright, she also joked that when she burned her own bra, she had to get the fire brigade out to put it out. So Porter had kind of likened himself to be a muse for her, to be her mentor and do all of this stuff. I'm not denying the fact that she actually even accredits him for a lot of her success, but I'm also like, I still think that him trying to claim that he was the one that got her to write I Will Always Love You That was her goodbye song to him when she was trying to say, I really need to leave, because he was trying to make her stay. I just think that he's trying to take a bit of credit there, personally, but everyone's entitled to their own opinion. If you're alive at the time and you were all involved up in that, then I'm sure you've got your own opinion too. Oh, and also when I was actually watching clips of the show, I just get like this really bad vibe from him, hey. Now of course, like, she does speak of him well, but she also says about like, both of their stubbornness and both of their strong will, and the fact that they were butt heads a lot and they would have absolute disagreements on things. Oh, and also there are rumors around them having an affair, and I'm sorry. And the thing is that she's never actually said that this happened, and also I never, like, you can't see the chemistry on there. Like, you can watch Letterman and think that they could have had something. The actual thing is the fact that she's admitted to having one affair of the heart, which is her words around it, and that was with her band leader Greg Perry, which inspired the song What a Heartache. So yeah, she has had an affair of the heart, but we don't know exactly what happened, and also she's never confirmed any of the other ones, but everyone who's anyone has apparently slept with Dolly, even though like none of it's ever been confirmed. So I'm also just like, well, you know what, it's her business, it's her and her husband's business what happens in their life, if they want to have an open marriage or not. The only one that she's confirmed is that one, which inspired the song, which also was the reason why she was actually considering Sycamore. She was holding a fun at the time, you know what I mean, but then her little dog Popeye was trotting along and that made her like stop it, and so then she managed to snap out of it after that whole affair was actually over. But of course we're getting on down the track because all of this is between her and Carl Dean. Oh yeah, we should probably actually talk about Carl Dean. Chapter 3. Carl Dean, the ever elusive introvert who is just living his best life with none of us knowing it. Carl saw her and was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. At least that's Jane Fonda's impression of it. And they officially met at a laundromat called the Wishy Washy, which, I'm sorry, is just the most adorable sounding place ever for a laundromat, obviously. So they officially dated for 2 years, but her label, RCA, actually really did not want her to get married because, you know, obviously all of the people that were listening to her obviously wanted to marry her, and it's like as soon as a woman is married then she's officially off limits, and it's like, because she's property now. So what they did in 1966 is they actually got married in secret with only her mother present there, and guess what happened? It didn't impact her music career, so then after that she's been openly married ever since. Oh, they did actually renew their vows after they'd been together for 50 years because she never had like the big old white dress and the big party and stuff, so she really wanted that, so that's exactly what they did, which I think is just absolutely adorable. All here for it. They've been together for like 55 years now actually. The thing is that he is such an introvert, he's got barely any pictures of him online. Like whenever Dolly talks about him in interviews, he just likes to buy and sell houses, and he's got his asphalt company, and that's really about it. Like he likes to just chill out, be at home, he's a real homebody and just watches TV, and then they go out fishing and camping together, and they do that sort of cutesy stuff, and they go to like local restaurants and go out for date nights. But that's really about it. The whole showbiz side of it, he's been to one event with her and he hated it. And I don't know if you've ever been to an event with someone that doesn't want to be there. It's the least fun thing you can possibly do. So I fully understand why she's just like, you know what, we're both independent people, we both like doing our own individual things. We love to see a relationship that's not codependent. We love to see this whole level of trust that they've got with each other. I think it's fantastic. She's a strong enough and confident enough person that she doesn't need him to be there by her side, because when I've talked in the past about Judy Garland or about Marilyn Monroe, for example, like they both wanted their partners to be there to support them. Dolly's just like, no, you know what, I can do this myself, sweetie. When you're dealing with like quite different people, is you can't just go saying, well, just because that person's treated that way, that means that everyone else is treated that way is bad, because they had communication about it. Oh, and of course you'll be wanting me to have a little bit of chat about Jolene, you know, like one of her possibly top 3 most famous songs ever.
And she got a big crush on him, and I think he kind of had a crush on her. I know he's spending more time in the bank than we had money, so I called him on it. And so I just kind of took that little bit of, you know, like that other woman kind of thing.
I do implore you, because there's this show called Heartstrings on Netflix. Go watch at least just the first episode, which is about Jolene. Most stories based on the songs and interpreted in a different way. It's really good. I was watching it last night actually. So Dolly and Carl actually have a really strong relationship, despite the fact that like every single magazine has been trying to tear them apart for years. They actually just make jokes about it because, like I said before, apparently everybody who's anybody has slept with Dolly, even though that's absolutely not true. She's always managed to maintain like a very squeaky clean image. Like, she's been asked about how to keep such a successful marriage.
People say, how do you think you and your husband stay together so long? I said, because we stay apart.
If you're independent and you come together over the things that are important and you still enjoy time together, like, that's the main thing. You don't always have to be like completely joined at the hip in order to be able to be happy in a relationship. I would be like remiss to not talk about the fact that she hasn't got children, and the fact that people have said that it was a choice to not have children. The thing is that she can't have children. Like, she's had to have a number of surgeries. Like, she's said herself that she's got female problems, but still it gets misreported on. There's a lot of misreporting around Dolly, which is why I like to listen to interviews just from her, like actually watch them, see what's actually coming from her, as opposed to like just reading stuff that's in the magazines, because a lot of it's just lies. But anyway, like, she can't have children. You know, you made the choice to not have children. It's like, well, actually, you don't know what people are going through in their life that means that they're not able to have children. Maybe they want to, maybe they don't want to. Maybe they've just dealt with a miscarriage. You do not know. And it's not the fact that Dolly doesn't like children. Like, she really does, and she's actually had like children basically get raised in her household as well. And she's also such a giving person that she's been able to like give those opportunities to people around her instead, and also to people that she doesn't even know through her charities. It really doesn't matter. And I'm pretty sure that that's their business, not ours. And of course, she's also the godmother to Miley Cyrus. I was about to try and use that as a mirror. So she's had plenty of involvement with like people growing up and all of that good stuff. So I really personally just don't see any of this as being our space. Oh, and also around Miley, like, people try and like poke holes in everything, and they're just like, oh, what do you think about Miley? Like, aren't you disappointed? And she's just like, you know what? Miley's a wonderful girl. She's doing what is right for her. She's on her own journey. Who am I to judge? And I'm like, she's such a vibe. I just love this. Chapter 4, Evading the Bullies. Because one thing I've noticed in particular from watching honestly far too many Dolly Parton interviews from across like a span of 4 decades, wow, people always try and trip her up or make her look stupid or make her look like she doesn't belong or like she should be ashamed. But luckily, because she is so charming, and like when she manages to go on the good shows, like they have a really good like vibing time. Like, she's got this absolutely incredible way of disarming people, which is a skill that I think she's really honed over the years. And she's also not afraid to admit when she doesn't know something as well. Like, she fully gets like, I don't know this, so I'm just going to bring in some other experts to work on this thing, whether it's to do with Dollywood, whether it's to do with creating a movie or whatever. She's like, okay, cool, you know this stuff, I'm going to bring you in. But she's also really self-assured that like the rumors and whatever other BS they're trying to pull just doesn't even work on her as well. She's also been really ahead on the paparazzi curve by spilling the beans on herself in a way, but she's also very controlled with the way that she actually talks about things. Like, when people are asking questions that she doesn't want to answer, she has like such quick fire responses in a way where she can deflect and distract, so then those don't even get asked ever again, and it's only afterwards that the interviewer's like, oh, that wasn't what I was asking. She could be a politician at this point. So I was actually reading Dolly on Dolly, kind of like a breakdown of all of her interviews and her Dollyisms and the way that she actually handles herself and all of the history and stuff. It's very interesting. I'll have it linked down below. She manages to control, disarm and deflect and distract when she's in an interview setting. Like, she is very sharp on her feet. Like, I do not have the level of wit. I wish I did, but it still takes me days to write a script for one of these. So she also really manages to say exactly what she wants and keep on everyone's good side, which is an incredibly hard task to do. So she's really open about her plastic surgery and is very self-deprecating as well, which also just adds to her charm too, because so many people are so secretive about all of this stuff, and always makes jokes at like the expense of the way that she looks too. But as she rightly points out, it got your attention, didn't it? She definitely knows what she is doing. Oh, and also her weight gets pointed out so many times. Like, so many interviews, they just get her to like turn around in front of them and like show off and show old footage of her, as was commonly done all the time. She'll obviously happily take the compliments, make jokes about it, but then she also just wants to talk about her work. I think that today we've moved on a little bit, but I still stand by what I said in my mental health video here. People say, how you stay looking so young? I say, well, good lighting, good doctors, and good makeup. If I see something sagging, dragging, or bagging, I'm gonna have it sucked, tucked, or plucked. Now, Barbara Walters, like, ugh, even just watching part of this interview, I was like, oh, I really do not like Barbara Walters. You're a beautiful woman. You don't have to look like this. And Dolly says that she does what she likes to. She loves looking the way that she does. It's so much fun for her. It's like dressing up. And she says, I would never stoop so low as to be fashionable. Meanwhile, Barbara Walters is sitting opposite in like prime fashion of the day. Prime vanilla fashion of the day as well, might I add. Like, it's peak level, like, subtle insult. I look just like the girl next door, if you live next to an amusement park. As someone who is really not a fan of like basic, I'm not wearing makeup, fully here for it. I am way more about like expression for any age, race, gender, whatever. I genuinely do not care. I just like people to be having fun with what they're doing. So this really stands out to me about Dolly, and I really do appreciate it. Now, she also said that if she wasn't born a girl, she'd be a drag queen. And I know that she was making these jokes back in the 80s, but the thing is that she's always actually been a friend of the gay community. She's got many gay friends. And so she also says that love is love, and it doesn't actually matter. You should just embrace everyone for who they actually are. So when she says this line, I actually don't doubt that she could have easily gone down that path, or maybe even decided to actually transition. Chapter 5, business savvy. So she is first off a songwriter, and that's what she takes really seriously. Like, when she's asked like, how would people describe you? First off, she says calm down, and then she says that she likes to think of herself as a songwriter. That's what gives her the most life, is actually writing songs and telling stories and being creative. Like, she's always kind of like on the go. Like, you know that she's got over 3,000 songs written, right? If I went through just all of her business accolades, we'd be here for this whole video. Now, she's actually had a savvy mind since she was in school. Like, she was popular, she knew how to work things, and I think she actually honestly probably dealt with a fair share of harassment too. She grew up with boys in the household and said that she knew how to handle them. And honestly, I do not doubt that for a second after seeing everything that she's been in. But of course, being in the 60s as a teenager trying to make your way in the music industry, and you're as petite and cute as Dolly, I can only imagine all of the battles that she'd have been facing. But she is a strong woman. Though at the start people were commenting on her naivety, she was always a sharpshooter in so many ways, and she knew an opportunity when she saw one. But she's also like a real strict professional. Like, when I was watching the Dolly documentary on Netflix, Jane Fonda, when they were talking about being in 9 to 5, like, even in the morning as she left her room, she was already done up. Like, even though they worked really closely together, she was never seen without her wig. So as someone who previously was kind of like this, this would have been makeup that I very much would have done as well. Like, it's kind of like getting into character, like a bit of an armor, because you're in this ritual and then you're getting ready to be able to face the world. And because Dolly, like, she herself has kind of become a character and kind of alludes to that as well, she's like, a character never dies. And she also doesn't actually want to disappoint people when they see her as well, because she's been out in disguise once, but when she talked, people still recognize her. So it's like, well, I'm gonna always have to be Dolly because people expect me to be Dolly. So she doesn't want to like let the illusion shatter as well. She is still like what people would refer to as real in herself around her husband, but at the same time it's like, this is what she wants to do to be able to like allow people to kind of have that fantasy as well. And like I said, she's been really open about her plastic surgery when it was considered, especially back then, to be super cheap and trashy. And she's 100% owned who she actually is as a person. So in her book that she wrote as well, Dolly, My Life and Other Unfinished Business, she actually admitted in an interview that she kind of regrets writing this because it was actually just done as a money cash grab, and the fact that she prefers to do interviews herself as well, because then she can actually tell her own story rather than having to like just write it down, and then the mystery is kind of gone. Like, because people often comment on how mysterious she is, because like I said, she is a very controlled woman. She seems to be such an open book, but that's because she's really open about certain things. It's almost like this very disarming tactic to be so open about certain things and make people feel so warm and fuzzy that they don't question other stuff, if that makes sense. Like, it's definitely a tactic I've seen some people use in their life. It's definitely a tactic that I've definitely used. Also, the director of Steel Magnolias told her, "You can't act." And she said, "You hired me to be a personality, and it's your job as director to make it look like I can act." But the thing is, if she's not singing or writing a show or in a movie or writing a book or running a charity or running Dollywood or running foundations, she's still always busy. Like, the woman just does not stop. So chapter 6, A Generous Heart. So she's actually really not intimidated or jealous of people. Dolly's always been there to build other people up and recognize talent in others. Like, she sees that as like a good thing to do, which is, I know it sounds basic, but it's actually quite remarkable, especially considering the time that she was actually working within. I just got these, and it would be wrong, so wrong of me not to. Now, it's actually kind of radical for someone to so openly boost women as opposed to centering themselves, in particular in the music industry when your lifespan as a female artist is short, as well with all careers in public really. Media often likes to pit women against each other, which still obviously happens, but Dolly's always had a genuine appreciation for the talent and skills of others. Now, people always try and say that Whitney Houston stole her song when she didn't. She bought it, and she actually made it her own, and Dolly loves it so much, and when she heard it being sung, she had to pull over the car because she was getting so emotional. She sees it as a great testament to her work to have others cover her work. Like, have you not seen her reacting to people covering her own songs? She's so here for building others up rather than tearing them down. So not only all of that, but she wanted to build Dollywood to give back to her hometown, employing hundreds of people and genuinely using her stardom for good. Then you add on her imagination library, where she's given books to children all across America from birth until they're in school. She's given out over 100 million books. That goal was actually achieved in 2018 from a charity that she started in the 80s. To list honestly all of the charities and causes she's donated to would take up a whole video in itself, and you've also got Wikipedia available for you. But the one thing I really particularly appreciate is the fact that she donated $1 million towards research at the Vanderbilt University Medical Center and encouraged those who can afford to make similar donations. And she actually got publicly vaccinated too. There are people all over the US, and sadly also here in Aotearoa, who are vaccine hesitant or straight up against it. So someone like Dolly, who connects with literally everyone doing this, it is so important. One of the many reasons that I actually really like Dolly, who is incredibly rich, is the fact that she actually spends her money and spends it on things to help people. She's not about the crypto gains or quick buck rubbish or PP measuring contests or going to space. She's built an amusement park in her hometown to provide jobs and money and invest in education, hospitals and vaccination. I fully know that we should not have the terrible wealth disparity that we do in the world, and the gap is only widening, but she's actually one of the few boomer celebrities who is trying to make the world better than when they entered it. When she was filming with Sylvester Stallone, for example, they went past a homeless man and she was wearing an expensive shawl because it was a cold night out, and she gave it to the homeless person, and he's like, "You shouldn't give them something that nice," and she absolutely tore him a new one for it. He then went on and bought the homeless person some things after she'd taught him a good lesson. Like, she's not afraid of anyone, and she's always here to try and do the right thing, and that is what I absolutely call gumption. I hope that you enjoyed that voiceover as I tried this for the first time ever. Dolly is for everyone. So she's stayed far more private than what she lets on. Let me just line my lips. She's always done a really strong lip liner and then like a lighter lipstick inside. Politics being one of them, because sadly it's a very partisan affair in the US, and if she said openly who she voted for, she would honestly ostracize half the country at this point. Now, normally I'm really pro speaking out about politics and who you're voting for and the reasons why and the things that people need to know about, but in Dolly's case I think that this is kind of an exception to the rule, because instead of being openly honest about it like in public, she writes all of the messages into her songs and into her work. Like, even on episode 2 of Heartstrings, it's all about like accepting people for who they are, especially in the LGBTQIA+ community. She likes to try and say that she's not ramming it down people's throats, but the way that she writes things makes it abundantly clear where she stands on so many issues. She actually brings the heart into situations, and she makes things so personal to people because everyone can very easily relate to her work, which I think really is a testament to her skill and talent as a songwriter. This is a quote from her: "I believe that everyone should be able to love who they love, how they love. Love is love." You think about like her writing The Bridge in the 60s, you think about Because I'm a Woman, and trying to actually just expand people's horizons through songs, through fairly simple songs. Like, she doesn't ever like to think of herself as a genius, but the way that she can actually just churn out such thought-provoking songs is actually incredible. And she also doesn't get sick of singing her songs as well, because as far as she's concerned, she's like, well, these people paid their hard-earned money to come and see me sing their favorite songs in concert. I'm gonna do it for them. And she's really good at reading the audience and making a tempo work for them and everything. Like, from the people that I've seen talk about the way that she works, and also from her herself, like, that connection really is so paramount to a huge part of her success as well. Sunshine and the Rain. I always just thought, if you see someone without a smile, give them yours. So she cherishes things and is always kind of looking ahead, I'd definitely be saying, because like, she's always busy, she's always doing something, creating something. But I think it's often very much overlooked just how sad so many of her songs actually are. When you say Dolly Parton songs, a lot of people think 9 to 5, Jolene, I Will Always Love You, like top 3 bangers, you know? But then when you actually look at the majority of her discography, so much of it has like got a bad case of the blues. Now, she's openly said herself that she laughs a lot, but that she also cries a lot. And the fact that she's also really sensitive as well. She's actually gotten excellent at having people's rudeness bounce off her, but having so many people judge you, in particular when you've got people that you respect judge you, I would also say that that was actually worse. I'm sure it's not all as sunshine and rainbows as what she kind of gives off the vibe of. She treats her songs kind of like therapy for her. Then 100% I think that there's a lot that she's really keeping like bumbling behind the surface, you know what I mean? And look, I don't know if she goes to therapy, I don't know if she's ever dealt with any mental health issues or like depression or whatever. All I know is the fact that she is so focused on trying to make sure other people are getting lifted up and having a good time. And the way that she gets people so well, you know, like everyone feels like they can really relate to her. I don't think that you're able to get like that unless you've actually dealt with adversity, as we know that she has, or if you've dealt with some stuff that's like really dark. Like when you even think about in the entertainment space, like it made me think about Robin Williams when I was thinking about this, because he always tried to make sure that other people were having a better time because he didn't want other people to feel as sad as what he did. Now, am I saying that she's all sadness really? Gosh no, definitely not. What I'm saying is, like, she's even said this herself, that she works really hard at making sure that she's happy. But the thing is that she's so often labelled as sunshine, and everyone always looks forward to seeing her because she's got this sunshine expectation on her. It must just be a big burden to bear, like having this expectation that you're meant to be the one that picks everyone else up when they talk to you or something. It's like, even when she's about to talk to someone on a talk show, like they're like, I'm just so excited to see you because you're such a delight. And it's like, well, what if she's having a bad day? When will she quit though? But her words, I can't slow down. That's why I would never retire, because I always make the statement, and it's so true, that I've dreamed myself into a corner and that all of my dreams have come true. Now I have the responsibility for all those things, so it requires a lot of work. The only thing that would actually make her retire was if her husband, obviously Carl Dean as we talked about before, if he actually needed her to or asked her to. If my husband needed me or someone in my family, I would put him first. I always put myself and my career first, but if something were to happen to him, I would pull back on that. Now, I think a lot of people really do admire Dolly for so many different reasons, not only because of her talent, because of her wit, because of her beauty. Like, I think one of the main things is that her spirit, her presence just lights up the room, but I definitely think it's a purposeful light that she's trying to put on to make sure other people are having a better time. It's not just because she's beautiful, it's because like she's real, she's authentic, and she actually cares. And I guess like you kind of get used to a lot of people having like these staged remarks and stuff. It's like, yeah, she's definitely got her stage presence, and she definitely has her stage things that she knows that she wants to say and things that she knows that she will just veer around. It seems that she actually cares about the other person who's asking the questions as well. I think that's one of the things that really makes her stand out amongst the crowd, and I honestly think this is something that we can all learn from her. Like, I know that I will not have the talent that's even just dwelling in her little pinky finger, but this is definitely something that I'm going to be taking along with me as well. When you're seeing someone having a bad time, finding a way to make them have a better time, it not only lifts your spirit, but it changes so much about their day as well. Like, has a way bigger impact than what you might think. So if you made it all the way to the end of this very long video, please leave the angel and guitar emoji, because I always think that she looks just like an angel that could be right on top of that Christmas tree, which is of course her favourite time of year. Oh, also, what is your favourite Dolly Parton song? I found it really hard to try and think of it. It's a bit hard to beat To the Moon and Back. I think that that's really sweet, but that's also because when we go on long drives or something, we listen to romantic country songs. But also, of course, like 9 to 5, I don't know if I can really beat that one personally, just because it is such a bop and it's gets stuck in my head very often. Oh, and also, what is your favourite Dolly Parton movie? Because for me, Steel Magnolias was the first Dolly movie that I ever saw, and because I was a sad girl before it was even cool to be a sad girl. Also, I really do love 9 to 5. Now, if you could have any of the fantasies out of the 3 of them that came up in the movie, of course, which one would you have? Because I would have Lily Tomlin's one, because of course I had the animations going on. If you choose Dolly's one, I definitely know what you're into. Anyway, lovelies, thank you so much for watching this, and here is another playlist that you may also enjoy as well. So without any further ado, I will see you all, lovelies, next week. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye! She manages to also say exactly, goodness, hello wind. I wonder how many police are just gonna rock on by today. I've said before, it's every single time I film. Yeah, I feel so safe.